Make some noise for the $50 billion man, Dan Pena.
I haven't seen such enthusiasm since they tried to indoctrinate me into the Communist Party in Beijing in 2008. I was guest of the Beijing government back in 2008, prior to the Olympics, and they asked me to come over and take a look at one of their sovereign funds. They had started with $100 billion, and confidentiality doesn't allow me to tell you what it was when I got there, but suffice it to say they opened up 16,000 companies. And they made 3 exits. So if that leads you to believe that 15,997 companies made no money, you would probably be accurate. And they asked me, this is the public record now so I can talk about it, it's 10 years later. My non-disclosure agreement expired last year. So that means, and I told them they called me 15 years too late. I couldn't turn it around. But I'm not too late for you. And I certainly wasn't too late for Jason. And for those of you that have seen the transition that he's made the last couple of years, it's quite remarkable. It's quite remarkable. I still have trouble trying to understand, and I notice there's a few gray hairs and wrinkles in the audience, but most of you are kids. And I call everybody kid because I'm either old enough to be your father or grandfather. But it's hard for me to believe that there are people like Jason, as good as he is, and a few others, that have to teach you to be self-confident, have to show you how to gain self-esteem, have to show the guys how to get their willy wet. It's beyond my fucking comprehension. I don't understand that people get paid, not good money, but great money, to show guys how to stand up like they had a pair. I don't get it. Me personally, I got more ass than a toilet seat at a bus station growing up. A few years ago, I said, you are in the condom generation, I told the kids. And I wouldn't know what a condom looked like. The next morning, I come into the seminar, and there's a shiny little thing on the ground, a piece of aluminum with a circle. It looked like a circle's inside of it. So I'm picking it. What the fuck is that? And everybody in the audience laughs. And so then somebody in the back row says, well, Mr. Pena, you now know what a condom looks like, at least in the wrapper. But the world has changed. The world has changed. And, okay. Now, I'm not sure what high status means to you. I know what high performance means to me. And I do know what summit means. So, but I am the $50 billion man, and I'm going to get, if I leave here today with you liking me, I didn't do my job. I didn't do my job. And I very seldom leave with anybody liking me, so I know I'm going to do my job. And I'm not here to insult your ethnicity, but I will. I'm not here to insult your religion, but I will. I'm not here to insult your gender, but I will. Because in the real fucking world, nobody gives a fuck. And political correctness is nothing more than a manifestation of lack of fucking self-esteem. You want to fit in. You want people to like you. Why? Because you've had poor fucking role models. And who's your role model? Mommy, maybe daddy, an older brother, a grandparent. How were they made to be put in a position to create high-performance people. They have no training. Yes, as Jason said, I am the $50 billion man, but there's a lot more to it because I created $50 billion with meatheads just like you. And when I say retarded, I don't mean retarded, but I mean retards just like you. You hang around with cripples, you learn how to limp. You understand what I'm saying? And most of the people that you hang around with are mental cripples. And for those of you that are in wheelchairs in the audience, I apologize. And one short story. I'm in Fiji, giving a speech to the National Association of something or other. And I didn't notice, but the whole front row were wheelchairs. Didn't notice that. I'm looking out there, and I'm ranting and raving, and then I look down, and I see right here a guy in a wheelchair. His hands are on the little wheels, and I go, "Fuck! You stuck your foot in your mouth this time, Pena." So the air conditioning went out. There was 3,000 people in the room, and I'm perspiring. That my suit is soaking wet, and there's water. That's why I have rubber-soled shoes on right now. The water formed, and I got right up to the edge, and I slipped. And the last thing I remember is I tucked my knees under me, and I didn't want to hit the guy with a wheelchair. And I landed like this. And the audience thought it was part of the gig. Do it again, do it again, do it again. It wasn't part of the gig. I was just lucky. But I had a belief in myself that I got from my parents, unlike you didn't get from your parents, that I could do anything I wanted to do. And I was a very bad boy. I was a barrio bad boy. I'm from East Los Angeles, maybe 45 miles from here. Okay? I'm first generation Mexican. My mother and grandmother swam across the Rio Grande River illegally in 1924. I'm first generation. Okay? I've created more wealth in this country than any other Mexican since Moses. I used to say JC, but I'm not going to say JC now because you're going to think I'm talking about Jason. JC to me is Jesus Christ. But anyway, Moses. Strange times are those in which we live when old and young are taught falsehoods in school, and the person that dares to tell the truth is called a lunatic and a fool. I've been called this for 25 years. I'm an overnight success, 25 years in the making. 25 years in the making I've been doing this. But when I decided to give my first seminar in May 1993 at the Sheraton Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, I had 60 people show up. I paid $1,000 a head. And I thought this was easy money for me to just get up and talk how I made a lot of money. I had no idea. I underestimated grossly how hard it would be to pull you sorry assholes across the goal line. Because I thought everybody had self-esteem like I did. I thought everybody had self-confidence like I did. I thought everybody's dad had a pair. I was fucking wrong. Virtually none of you have parents like that. And when we have parents come to the castle, and I'm not here to sell anything. By the way, all my product is free on my website. I don't sell anything. My book, my tapes, everything, podcasts, webinars are all free on my website. About 10 years ago, I decided I went from the highest cost product online to zero because everybody complained, "Oh, it's too expensive. It only cost them 10 cents to make a DVD, and he's charging us $800, which I was. And I said, well, fuck them. Fuck them. I'm going to take the last fucking excuse away from the little weenies that they don't know how to because they've never been told and they don't have the information. So we started giving it away 8 or 9 years ago, and all the gurus that you know the names of contacted me. What the fuck you doing, Pena? You're killing us. And by the way, when one of your gurus has a Valentine's Day sale or a Christmas sale and everything's half price, right? Yeah. What was it worth the day before? Fuck all. But only, do you ever see Rolls-Royce have sales? No. But you think you're getting a bargain. You get what you pay for, kids. I decided, and I knew this, but Jack Welch says it more eloquently than I, when asked, there are no such thing as work-life balance. There are work-life choices, and they make them, and they have consequences. I didn't go to a lot of our kids' baseball games. I didn't go to the ballets. I didn't go to those things. I normally went to school when the headmasters called me in because my kids were getting in a fight and they kicked the shit out of somebody. There are people in this fucking audience today. Now, I'm not going to embarrass you by asking you to raise your hand. There are people in this audience today that have never been spanked by their parents. They've never been reprimanded by their parents. They've never got in a schoolyard fight. They wouldn't say shit if it was in their fucking mouth. And you wonder why the world's so fucked up. I can see. And that's why I call you snowflakes. Because you melt under fucking pressure. I can eat you 10 at a time in this fucking room. And the guys that are 6-pack, 4% body fat, pill poppers, I can take 20 at a time. I'm 6'1", 225, of twisted steel and motherfucking panther piss. And I'm still this at 73. When I was 33, I killed the whole room. I discovered early on that this was my challenge. Here's me. Actually, it looks like Jason's big nose, not mine. There's me. And then I got to get my relatives to find my dreams, my goals. I got to get my own guilt. I got to get by friends. I got to get by the pessimists. I got to get by society in general, and then general fear. How am I going to do that? Well, you can't say families without saying lies. Your families are your biggest detriment. I left the United States in 1981, and I'm Hispanic. I left the familia. That's a big fucking deal. My relatives hated me. Some still hate me. I wasn't there. But I knew I could not achieve my goals from the barrio with a familia. Impossible. How much sacrifice are you willing to make to achieve your goals? I'm not talking about getting your willy wet. If you can't get your fucking willy wet, you ought to metaphorically commit suicide. I have to add metaphorically now because I have people committing suicide. Metaphor pretend. Most of what you've heard heretofore about success, about personal development, about getting your willy wet is like that big hunk of shit there. It's all shit. That's dinosaur shit. Most of the people that have made any money in this business have made money by putting asses on seminar seats, writing books, DVDs, podcasts, etc. There's very few of us. And there's nobody that's made millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions, tens of billions, and hundreds of fucking billions. Nobody. Yet you still listen to them. Because they tell you it's fucking easy. It's a motherfucker. There's nothing easy about it. There was an interesting article written in the New York Times about 2.5, 3 years ago about Jeff Bezos of Amazon. And it talked about, a nice article, the first 2/3, and then the last third was a hatchet job. But they said that 80 hours to keep your job there, a week, 80 hours a week. 85 hours to be considered for promotion. Considered 90 hours a week to be promoted. And that wasn't a company policy. Those were rules enforced by the fellow employees. It's one of the fastest growing companies ever. I believe it touched $1 trillion in value. Jeff was the richest at $160 billion, and now he's getting a divorce. He's going to have to cut that in half. I could have a whole seminar about divorce, but I'm not going to do that. Because kids are not programmed for success. Why? because your parents weren't successful. Kids don't do what parents tell them to do. They do what they see their parents do. I still work 60, 70 hours a week, and I don't even consider it working, and I haven't had to work in 35 fucking years. But when my dad retired as an LAPD cop, 28 years, he had 700 statutory leave days he didn't take. Now, for those of you that can divide 28 into 700. He never took a fucking day off in 28 motherfucking years. In those days, you could get a check for it. Now you lose them after 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. So I had a father that never took a day off and worked like a fucking dog. I.e., what do? I don't take a day off and I work like a fucking dog. And what do? Because your weenie vagina parents are lazy cunts, you're a lazy cunt. And you're going to breed lazy cunts. Now, there is one exception on this planet, and this is our new grandson. Drew Pena, the son of our youngest son, Derek. It will be hard for him not to be a superhuman person. He wears T-shirts like this. He's hardwired to be a success. When your parents, when you were growing up, a lot of you kids were told you can be anything you want. That's a load of shit. Unless you went to Stanford, an Ivy League school, Georgetown, you're a Kennedy, a Clinton, a Rockefeller. You can't be anything you want. That's a load of shit. That's a cheap cliche. Why did they tell you that? So you wouldn't have your feelings hurt. Why do the parents, when you go off to school in the kindergarten, my grammar school is, as you go out, when you turn out of Los Angeles and you turn right towards Pasadena, and then the first Stadium Way, on the other side of Dodger Stadium, that's where I come from, right there. Right there, okay? And the little grammar school, Doris Place Grammar School, is the school that I tried to kill my teacher in when I was in grade school. I tried to kill my teacher in the 5th grade. I'm not bragging about it. If it wasn't by the grace of Allah and he didn't move 6 or 7 inches, I dropped an aquarium from the 2nd floor on him, 45, 50-pound aquarium, and he moved. And so I caved his shoulder, clavicle. His shoulder was down where my hip is. But if I had killed him, I wouldn't be standing here today. So I feel that it's destiny for me to drag you sorry cunts across the goal line. And I have 50, 60, 70 things just like that. I should be dead right now. They can't kill me. Nobody can kill me. That little kid, that little shit, he can be anything he wants to be. Your parents lied to you. And for those of you that are six-pack pill poppers, everybody knows a six-pack is made in the kitchen. It's what the fuck you eat. And why are there so many pill poppers, potion people, and guys that teach that? Because it's easy. There's no barrier to entry. So you're a physical training. So fucking what? There's 25 million of them. 18 million are out of work, just like you. Hit a wrong note there. We are brought in innocent to this life, then life happens. Most info given reference success is wrong unless you are lucky, which is questionable, enough to have a high performer, wealth creator as a parent. If you were one of Andrew Agassiz or Steffi Graf's children, both world-class athletes, both Olympic athletes, both at the top of their game, it's hard for those kids not to be world-class athletes if they want. And what about you? Your old man whacked the shit out of your mom, threw up on the weekends, drank 101 or 102 beer, that cheap fucking beer they probably still sell in Los Angeles. And look, I rest my case. There's not a person in this audience that would say they want their kids to grow up like their parents. There's probably not too many of you in this audience that would say, I want my kids to grow up even like me. They don't have a chance. Self-esteem is built the first 7 or 8 years of life. Who are they around? Again, mom, maybe a dad once in a while. They're not programmed to build anything. Show me your friends, and I see that JC has copied this. Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future. Do you want your kids to grow up like the guys you hang with, that you fucking chill with? Bill Gates doesn't hang. Elon Musk doesn't hang. Warren Buffett doesn't chill. Henry Ford didn't chill. Steve Jobs, who I knew, didn't chill. I don't chill. Sally and I were in Verona, Italy, on the getting ready to get on the Orient Express 8 or 10 months ago. And we climbed up to some Roman ruin on top of some mountain, and we ordered a glass of wine, or we tried to order a glass of wine. We waited 45 minutes. And Sally turns to me, she says, I think we're chilling. And I go, what do you mean? What do you mean? I says, because we're just sitting here doing nothing. We couldn't even order a fucking glass of wine in 45 minutes. Part of the reason Italy's got so many fucking problems, but that's a whole other story. And I'm 1/4 Sicilian. My grandfather was born in Palermo, Italy. It is one thing to study war and another to live like warriors. You guys have read all the books. And look at you now. What good has it got you? You've listened to all the podcasts. With the greatest respect, I didn't know one single speaker on the agenda for this event. I told Jason last night, not one. Doesn't mean they're not great guys. Doesn't mean they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, but I never heard any of them. I'm here as a favor, or how do the kids say, a solid for Jason. And I go around the country 4 or 5 times a year and I speak at some of my more successful mentees events. I was just in Vancouver, Canada with Dan Loke on his TV show. Okay. Later on this year, I'm going to be with my former recovering Dutch movie star, Mike Pilchek, in the Netherlands. I do gigs from time to time for Brian Rose on London Real. And so I do it. I'm not getting paid. I got nothing to sell. I'm doing 2/3 of my time is pro bono. And for you that don't know what that means, for free, for charity. I give back, if that's what you want to call it. But Jason hit it right on the head. I don't really give a fuck if y'all died in the audience today, okay? What I do give a shit is that I'll touch maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of you to go to my site, get all the free material, and become big successes, and then come back. Okay. I was just on Black TV yesterday. Black TV, I can't tell you the program because they haven't announced it yet. Brothers, black television station. And anyway, that's a whole other story. Anyway. It is a whole other story. Their station is in South Central LA. There was a homeless guy standing at the front door. And I said, my bodyguard driver said, Mr. Pena, is this the right address? And West Pico, yeah. And I said that I'm sure that homeless guy is just there by accident. And maybe he's a doorman or something. I don't know what he is. But then when I got inside, bars on the fucking windows. The only thing they weren't doing is they weren't carrying weapons. They weren't carrying weapons. But anyway, I enjoyed the hell out of it. And the theme of the program was there's not enough real men in the black community. And I said, well, I'm here because there's not enough real men in the white community either. Okay, you read all the podcast, you read all the stuff. See, you've been deluded, bullshitted into believing that reading is taking action. You've been deluded into believing that listening to a podcast is taking action. It's not. The only thing that's taking action is pulling the motherfucking trigger. Take fucking action. And the reason that you've been the way you are is because you're desperate to fit in, and your parents have been desperate to fit in. I had a mentee a number of years ago, and they wanted me to meet their parents. We drove up, and this is not I wish it was a lie, but it's the truth. Her mother and father were fighting, rolling around in a fist fight on the front lawn. And the mom was kicking the guy's ass. Now, what kind of message does that send to a daughter? Nothing good, right? I can prove to you statistically that at least half of you in this room were accidents. Not because you're 3, 6, 12, 15 years apart. It's been scientifically proven that you can hear from the second trimester on in your mom's tummy. Second trimester, that's 4th month on. So your biological father comes home, and your biological mother it's tough to not to be, you can figure out who your mother is because you come out of her. So it tells your biological father, we're pregnant. Now, I can give a whole seminar about this word shit. You're pregnant, bitch, not we're pregnant. Okay? So we're pregnant. And so your biological father tells your biological mother, God damn it, they're going to repossess my goddamn car. We're 2 payments behind on our apartment rent, blah, blah, blah. You heard that. And then you wonder why your dad didn't treat you differently growing up. Now, don't go back and ask your mother this question, but ask your dad, was I on purpose? And when they put their head down, you know the answer. Now, see, if you're trained as a kid like this, you have no fear. You have no fear. People say, why am I fearless? Well, I'm going to show you one of the reasons. Because that's me when I'm 13 years old with Jackie the Lion. My dad exposed me to a lot of rough shit growing up because he wanted me to have a pair. My mother's off camera here on the left in hysterics, screaming and yelling because the lion had just put my head in its mouth. That's the MGM line, the one on the beginning of MGM. I've been doing stuff like this since I'm a little kid. Once you become fearless, life becomes limitless. I'm not going to ask you, one of the homework assignments we have, it's online, is what are you afraid of? Some of you have a longer list of what you're not afraid of than what you're afraid of. Why? Because you saw what your parents were afraid of. You saw what your grandparents were afraid of. You saw what your older brother was afraid of, etc., etc., etc. What the kids need is leadership. You got plenty of brains. You wouldn't be at a seminar like this unless you wanted to learn. But there's only so much knowledge that you need. There's only so many people out there that are worth a shit. And the rest of the talk is about mentorship. I am the way I am because of the mentorship that my father gave me and then the 3 or 4 mentors that I found subsequent to my father. I saw in something where they were and I wanted to be there in today's time, even though they may have been 50, 60, 70 years old. Mentorship. Command allows no intimacies. It's lonely at the top. And one of the reasons that the current generation is so fucked up is because they want to be everybody's friend. It's lonely at the top, kids. Warren Buffett only has one friend, Charlie Munger. Bill Gates has one friend, Melinda Gates. Steve Jobs had no friends. Ray Kroc is McDonald's, had no friends. And look at you. You got a plethora of fucking friends, or people you call your friends. Now, I don't have to tell you the world's fucked up now. Any place you go, they're rioting. And it's interesting, what generation's rioting? It's not my generation. It's not even the generation one younger than me. It's mostly the kids. Because the kids have figured out the world is fucked up. To their credit. Now, when I was growing up, if my dad talked shit, I just put my head down and didn't say anything. A lot of generations like that. Now, you hear your parents talk shit, you go Google and say, this fucking old man's crazy. He's not, that's bullshit. The law says this and da-da-da-da-da. I drove by a college today, and I spent a lot of time on university campuses, and I yelled, boo. 35 people went to the hospital. 734 needed crisis counseling. 429 needed a safe area or room, and classes were canceled for a week. If your adult child needs a safe space to avoid offensive words, you failed as a fucking parent. You failed as a parent. If anything in my seminar offends you, blame your parents for raising a pussy. Now, remember, self-esteem is built the first 7 or 8 years of life. When you're 6, 8 months old, unless you've got a dirty diaper, they're happy. Kids are happy. When they're 3 years old, they're still fucking happy. When they're 7 years old, they're still happy. Then something happens. 15 years old, they say it's hormones, but it's really life in your parents. And then they're really pissed off. And then they're like this. What's happened? You saw your parents fight. Maybe not like the couple that was rolling around, and I saw with my own eyes, rolling around, and the old lady was punching the guy's lights out. But you saw them argue. And if love got the job done, you wouldn't be in this room today. Love just doesn't get the fucking job done, and we're going to talk more about that. American symbols of manhood. My dad's generation and your generation. What the fuck? Men back in the days and men today. It's a sad fucking commentary. I think the reason why the Martians or whoever is out there hasn't come because we're not worth the shit. Why bother with us? Now, this is a real slide from one of my mentees from Paris. He's so ashamed of being a snowflake and being raised by snowflakes. They have a society in Paris. They go once a month and they beat each other like this. That's a real fucking slide. Many in this room should have been beaten like this. A lot of you are ashamed in this room about being a snowflake. You laugh about it, but laughing is a coping mechanism. You don't like being, you don't like having a dry weenie, and you don't like being a cunt. You know it. Jason is one of the best at what he does. And if you notice the picture in that slide, it's JC. If love got the job done, most parents would have produced high performers. It doesn't. That was JC at the Castle Seminar a couple years ago when I told him get rid of the fucking earrings and all this other bullshit. Now, if you think that you're going to blend into society looking like a freak, whatever you're taking, if it's not addictive, give me some of the shit. I mean, so I can hallucinate as well. Now, Gallup did a poll in 2016. 87% of the world is unhappy. 87% of this is of the 7.5 billion people, 87% of the people are unhappy with their lot in life. 87% of the people have checked out. They're just marking time. And I'm not just talking about the people that are living paycheck to paycheck, hand them out. They're unhappy. They came from unhappy childhoods, who came from unhappy childhoods. So 13% are okay. I contend that the personal development business, which I'm not in, is the 87. Because you're not happy. If you had made a reasonable amount of money, if you were getting your willy wet, you wouldn't be here. You wouldn't fucking be here. And you know it. Life expands and contracts with courage through pain. Being successful at anything. For those of you that played sports in high school or college or whatever, you know the better trained teams normally won. Best prepared teams normally won. How do you get prepared? Through practice, sweat, etc., right? Life, business, being an entrepreneur is no different. You've got to practice being successful. I went over this seminar. I could give this seminar in a motherfucking coma. I went over, for every minute that I'm up here, I practice 10 minutes. And I'm a world-class speaker. Can you say the same? When was the last time you practiced being successful? If ever. Now, part of the reason that I am who I am is because of this man, my dad. He's not a movie star, but he was a rough motherfucker. He had a 56-inch chest, 28-inch waist, and 18-inch arms, and he never lifted weights a day in his fucking life. I'm going to say that again for you pumpers. 56-inch chest, 28-inch waist, 18-inch arms. He was a gymnast. He was the first alternate 1936 Olympics on the pommel horse in rings. And then for 60 and 65 years, he didn't make the Olympic team, and that kind of ended his athletic career. He never did a push-up after that. He smoked between 5 and 6 packs of cigarettes a day, no filter, and he drank between 1 and 1.5 bottles of, well, he went from scotch to vodka to gin back to vodka towards the end of his life. When he was 83 years old, I got a phone call, and my kid brother's the number 2 deputy fire chief for the LA County Fire Department, a high-performance guy. He says, Dan, your dad's out of control. He tried to kill the doctor this morning. Now, where do I get to trying to kill people? I wonder where I get it from. And he says, you got to get here as soon as you can. So it took me 2 days to get there. He was at Eisenhower Hospital in Palm Springs. And one of the doctors had led my dad to believe that he could get out in 2-3 days. And when you tell my dad something 2-3 days, he means 2 or 3 fucking days. He doesn't mean 10 days, 2 weeks, or 4 months. And so my dad apparently pulled off a scalpel out of a tray and went after the doctor. He was going to cut his heart out and shove it up his ass. Now I wonder where I get it. He was bad. And when my dad said he was going to fuck you up, he was going to fuck you up, your wife up, or they call them old ladies in those days, your kids, your fucking goldfish, everybody was going to go to the fucking morgue. Now, this is not much of an exaggeration what he looked like. And I used to just look up. When my dad says, stand there and don't fucking move, short of a tsunami knocking me down, I didn't move. When my mother said, I want you to do such and such, and I said, no, I'm not going to do that. And I said, well, I guess I'm going to have to wait and tell your dad when he gets, no, we don't have to get dad involved. What, exactly, Mom, what did you want me to do again? What was it? And that's how, unfortunately, kids, fear works. It's a shitty thing to say, but motherfucking fear works. Mao Zedong proved it. Hitler proved it. Stalin proved it. And I can go down the line. Genghis Khan, fear fucking works. He was not a great dad, but he was an extraordinary man's man, which most of you in this room can't say about your dad. Most people come to me because they got daddy issues, either on the surface or, as the psychiatrists say, sub rosa. What that means is you had no role model father. I'm the alpha male dad you never had. And believe me, I don't need any more kids. That's a sad fucking commentary that you got to come and listen to a psychopath guy in his 70s who's made a shit ton of money because you didn't have a dad that disciplined you. You didn't have a dad that was a good role model. That's sad. I'm indebted to my father for living. I just figured out what these fucking things are here. I'm indebted to my father for living. but to my teacher for living well, Alexander the Great. That teacher was his mentor. We are shackled by our dad's sins. When one has not had a good father, one must create one. Nietzsche. Children begin by loving their parents. After a time, they judge them. Rarely, if ever, do they forgive them. This is not new shit, but nobody's teaching it, are they? I have no fucking book. I have nothing. I don't want your fucking money. I haven't had to work in 35 years. But I still have more fire and passion than probably anybody in the room. It is easier to build strong children than repair broken men. One of my brothers there, Frederick Douglass. Sigmund Freud said it best, being entirely honest with oneself is a good exercise. We are never so defenseless against suffering as when we love. I cannot think of any need in childhood as strong as the need for father's protection. And for those of you that were raised just by a mom, i.e. you didn't have it. And i.e. where are you? My father didn't have a father. His dad died a few months before he was born. So my dad served in 2 wars, Second World War and Korean War, and he raised me like the military. I.e. then I volunteered. I saw my dad volunteer twice, so I volunteered during Vietnam. You do not what your parents tell you to do, you do what you see them do. I used to work 100, 120 hours a week. I saw my dad never take a day off in 28 years. Just think if your kids are patterning themselves after you, what a sorry fucking bunch of shit that's going to be. Yes, 25 years I've been doing this. And would I do it over again? No. I grossly underestimated how hard it was, how insecure, how insipid, how limp you were. But once I got into it, I said, well, I'm going to be the very best. I'm going to change the industry. It's really, QLA is really, and QLA stands for Quantum Leap Advantage. QLA is really the psychology of the high performer. And I've been blessed to be around some of the greatest performers we've had in the last 50 years. A couple years ago, you guys, even though the material is free on the site, said, I don't know where to start. We created QLA for Dummies. Free on the site. First you do this, then you do this, then you do this, then you and we still get emails. Oh, I'm stuck on number 3. And Kim or Kat or one of my assistants will say, why don't you just go to number 4? Oh, is that what it means? Fucking retards. And then at the end of the QLA for Dummies, we have the QLA test. The success test, the optimism test, the pessimism test, and the snowflake test. These tests have only a 95% probability of being accurate. We predict 95% whether you're a loser for life or there's any chance for you. Take the fucking results at your own peril. Do the test at your own peril. You'll be fucking shocked. You'll shit yourself. 96.5% of the people that take the snowflake test, forget about it. It's irreversible. Metaphorically. And when you stick it up there, make sure it's up against the roof of your mouth so it takes the top of your fucking skull off. QLA, and I learned early on, it's called extension learning. It's overcoming fear by positive experiences. For those of you that are afraid of things, you can't overcome it. I used to be afraid of traffic, and I constantly would run out in the street, and my dad said, well, I'll cure you of that. So he decided that we had an old Willys. Willys had a runner boards, like the runner boards on the side of the door. And I'm on my bicycle, and so he took the car, and he kind of nudged me with the car to knock me off my bike. What he didn't notice is there was a piece of chrome sticking outside the runner board, and the piece of chrome went through my knee. I'm 6 years old. through my knee, outside this knee, and drugged me on the street. I never walked in traffic again. I wouldn't get out there. I mean, if this was the curb right here, bad shit happens in the street. But it worked. It worked. My mother, again, like with the lion picture, she's in hysterics. Manny, Danny's hooked to the bumper. That just keeps driving me. What gets measured gets accomplished. Most of you are not more successful, not just most of you, but most people in the world, is because they don't hold themselves accountable. You come up with an excuse why you didn't get this done. For those of you that have children, the kid did this, the wife did this. And you wind up, you're 25, 30, 35, then you're 60 and 70, and then your life's over. True self-esteem has to be earned with scar tissue. You have 3 million pores in your body. I've been fucked in every pore twice, at least twice. In a bad way. The program, War Action Plan, we focus on growth, working capital, financing internally, but the real gist of the program is it's easier to buy revenue than it is created. How many of you in the audience have started a business? Okay. Your first $1,000 in revenue is geometric growth. Your next $5,000 in revenue is geometric growth. Your next 50,000, 100,000, 500, the first million is geometric growth because you started from a zero base. Everybody get that? Yeah. Microsoft, when in its heyday, that was all geometric growth, and now it's just a big conglomerate. The same you can say for Facebook, the same for Google. And then they become these big monolithic Neanderthals. It doesn't have to be that way. When you buy revenue, you're de-risking the acquisition costs because you don't know how much money the other guy or the other guys spent creating that first 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, first million. So you're de-risking it. Roll-ups, consolidation plays, General Motors, IBM, Microsoft, Facebook, they're all part of the same game. The challenge is nobody's teaching it other than my site free because it doesn't create a lot of fees for banks because it's a debt-driven model, not an equity-driven model, and you really don't need any investment advice. Startup, cash out, repeat. Startup, cash out, repeat. Now, 25 years later, the Wall Street Journal says the future of everything is quantum leap. 25 motherfucking years I've been pounding my chest. I don't feel good that the Wall Street Journal agrees with me. It probably means that I'm doing something wrong. Now, for me personally, my quantum leap in life is I started in the barrio. That's my house that used to be where I'm trying to do my best imitation of a Mexican cholo in front of where my house used to be. That lot is where my dad built an 800 square foot house after World War II. The house got torn down because it turned into a crack haven. And that a picture of me in 1993, that's when I became an officer and a gentleman by the Act of Congress, which was the first high-performance thing I ever did. The only high-performance thing I ever did before is I was real good at fighting, beating people up, rolling drunks. Rich guy in a suit like this, he stumbles out of a bar, whack him in the head, take his wallet. I was Prince at doing that shit. I was bad. One of my best friends is serving life for murder in Florida right now that I was raised with. Now, we were really bad. Not like the current crop of cunts. When we said we were going to rip your head off and shit down your neck, we fucking meant it. And to get a guy's shoulders after you got his head off and to try to crap down his neck is not easy. It's not fucking easy. Normally, Reuben and Walt had to hold him still. Hold him still, God damn it. I'm going to shit down his chest. I want to shit down his neck. When I graduated from high school in 1963, we're sitting in the quad. It was lockdown. You couldn't leave campus. lockdown. We're sitting there, we're eating McDonald's hamburgers. And the vice president, the enforcer, the guy who used to beat you, a guy named Hank Leeds, may he rest in hell today. He comes by and he says, where'd you get those hamburgers? And I said, we had them delivered. There was no delivery system in 1963. It meant that we had left campus and brought them back. And so he says, get your sorry asses in my office after lunch. So we went in there, and he handed us our diplomas 3 weeks before graduation. He says, get the fuck off campus. We don't want you here. We took them, put them in our pocket. Then we went over to a pool hall. We started shooting 9-ball. About between 10 and 15 pitchers of beer later, the intellect of the three of us, Walt, said, hey, we got fucking rights. Martin Luther King's Martian. We went back to campus. We broke into the office of the boys' vice principal. We took our diplomas and threw them in his face. He said, fuck you. We're going to go to school every day. And I said, I'm going to burn this fucking school down. Now, these are the kind of students we were. At my 50-year high school reunion, which my wife Sally, who's in the audience, can attest to, they came up to me, this was a few years ago, they came up to me and said, we want to reenact corporal punishment. Corporal punishment means the teachers could beat you. I, in May 1963, was the last legal beating a high school student in the state of California got. I was, me. So they wanted me to reenact it for the reunion. And I said, there's no fucking way, nobody's going to fucking beat me. So that's out of the question. They said, no, we just want to reenact it. And they used to, with these paddles, big paddles, and they used to drill holes in the paddles so the paddles could go faster. But I was the last kid, 17 years old, to get beat legally in the state of California. And I should have got beat more. I should have got beat more. And then the last high-performance thing, a couple years ago, a year and a half ago, the Queen, in her infinite wisdom, bestowed upon me the member of St. John, which is, part of the Knights Templar, the guardian of Christ's bones. So from the barrio to the fucking Queen of England, nobody could have thought that. But I had a dream, not unlike Martin Luther King. So I've created millions with you, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions, tens of billions, and the largest deal in recorded history, $500 billion with meatheads just like you. Jason, maybe not like just like these guys, maybe a shade or two above these guys, but meatheads anyway. There's nobody out there. I've created more money than the entire industry since motherfucking Moses, cumulatively. And I'm still going strong. Thank you. Now, you're not here because I've met 5 presidents. You're not here because I've met 5 secretaries of state. You're not here, prime ministers, Secretary General of NATO, governors, senators, ambassadors, generals, and admirals. Because all that doesn't mean shit. But I'd ask you, who are the other speakers met? But these people, you cannot not meet these people and learn. You'd have to be a bigger meathead than this audience is to not learn anything from all these people. By the way, the most prestigious president that I ever met, in my judgment, was President Nixon, Tricky Dick. He was regal. Now, you're not here because I made some of the great economic calls in the last 50 years. In 2014, when oil was $110 a barrel, I said, when people were saying it's going to go to 200, I said it'll go to 40 before it goes to 200. It immediately went to $26 a barrel, and it's currently at $50 a barrel, which was, I was the only one in the United States or in Europe that called the decline in oil. When I was on the Joe Rogan show, I told him how to pay for his fucking wall with El Guapo's money. And now Ted Cruz, and now even my buddy Chuck Norris is saying it's their idea. You go back and listen to the tape of me on Joe Rogan in March of 2017. I said how to pay for the fucking wall. Just take all the drug money that we confiscated. But one of the great calls I made is a year ago when Bitfuck was at $19,600. I said, it's over. Smart money, sell half, keep half. My mentees lost billions because nobody listened to me. We got some Bitfucks in there, I can tell. Too bad. Shows you the stupidity. Shows you the stupidity. And I know who's behind Bitcoin. And it ain't some fucking Japanese guy in a cave. I know the guy. And when that comes out, you heard it here first. Bitcoin is going to zero. Zero. When it comes out, zero. Some of you are here, as when I spoke at Oxford, I was privileged to speak at Oxford 2.5 years ago, and in the front row, like right here, there was a kid sitting about where you are, ma'am, and had read 700 books. I didn't know there were 700 books on the subject. I really didn't. I said, well, that's nice. But then the guy about where you are, he said to this person, who would you rather have advising you, somebody that's read 700 books or somebody that's done 700 deals? It's a fucking no-brainer. It's beyond a no-brainer, even for retards like you. The whole industry hasn't done 700 deals. And actually, I'm at 2,000 deals now. The whole motherfucking industry hasn't done 700 deals. I'm going to say it again. The whole motherfucking industry hasn't done 700 deals. Why do you listen to them? Because you're engaged in self-sabotaging, because you low self-esteem, you think you're a fucking cunt, and you act like a cunt because you are a cunt. Yes, I am the guy that took $800 and turned it into $450 million in a collapsing market. No money. The beauty about QLA is you don't use any of your own money. It's like monopoly money. The two biggest levers in life are OPM, other people's money and other people. And again, not like you guys, but with regular folk, $50 billion. I've got teenage multimillionaires. There he is. Came to me when he was 17. He's 21 now. He's long in the tooth. And there he is in his jet plane. What were you doing between 17 and 21 other than jacking off in front of your computer? You ought to be fucking embarrassed. 17! Does that resonate with you fucking idiots? This was his roommate when he came in 2015. Rich kid, made €1 million last year, which isn't a big fucking deal. But he's a college student still. And when I was at Krakow University in Poland speaking, and he was in the audience, and I told the audience about this big, and I said, Jan, stand up. And he said, hi. After the talk, not one single person in the audience went up to him to ask him how he made €1 million. Not one cocksucker in the audience. Because they're embarrassed. Another one of my kids, Matt Popia, some of you may know, was the first teenage multimillionaire a few years ago. Came to the seminar. Kids from Australia. These kids turned $20 million down for their 5% of their company. $20 million. They've been in QLA since they're 13. Oxford kid, left the seminar, went to Silicon Valley, made $300 or $400 million bucks. When I was at Oxford, not one Oxford student asked me what his name was. Again. His name is Chris Josafowicz. Why don't they ask me his name? Because they're embarrassed. Just like you look embarrassed right now. Kid came to me, a grease monkey. Is that a mechanic? A grease monkey is a mechanic? Yeah, a grease monkey from Topeka, Kansas. A Mexican. A Latino lazy piece of shit. That's his jet plane. And if you can get a pendejo in a jet plane, you can get any cocksucker in. And for those of you, ask some of the brown-skinned kids what a pendejo is. Had grease in his fucking nails. Huh? His name is Gonzalez. And there's Josh and Josh is half Asian. He's a Korean, but you can't really tell. Okay, and some of you will say, well, that's why he's successful, because he doesn't look like an Asian. You come up with reasons. The largest deal ever on the planet, $500 million. Saudi Arabia, that's my mentee on the left, Klaus Kleinfeld. And Sally saw this more recently. We have a half-breed retard from Costa Rica. No education. I'll read what I wrote. Just closed his first deal, and he said, 10 months after the seminar, I turned $20,000 investment, that's the cost of the seminar for him, to $20 million equity for me and $10 million equity for my team. For a 45-year-old minority kid with no education, I'm walking on the top of the world. When he came into the bar at the Low Hotel in New York City, you know how Back to the Future, those skateboards that float? It looked like he was floating. It didn't even look like his feet were hitting the ground. He was so fucking happy. Took 20 grand and turned it into 30 million in 10 months. Half-breed. I wish I could say he was an illegal alien, but he's not. Make a better story, but he's not. Next time I give the speech, I'm going to make him an illegal alien. And of course, then there's Mikey, the pizza boy, who now makes movies, major motion pictures. He came to me with pizza dough under his fingernails. And there he is making movies with Robert Duvall. But these guys had a dream. These guys were willing to work 100, 120 hours a fucking week. These guys made sacrifices. Mostly their families. Some of them their God. There's a hip-hop black guy, a motivational speaker, says, I forget his name. What? Yeah, he says, if you want success as much as you want air in your lungs, that's where you got to be. We're currently at 665 billion I've created. What jerks just like you. Closing in on $1 trillion. With no money. I'm going to say it slow. No money. Success leaves clues. Just like failure leaves clues. We could write a whole book on failure in this room. No doubt. But for me, there's no compression algorithm for experience. The coders have not figured out how to write an algorithm for experience. You cannot write an algorithm for my 50 years of experience. You cannot write an algorithm of the tens of thousands of deals I've looked at. You can't write an algorithm for the thousands of financial presentations I've made. There's no algorithm for that. And currently in the industry, there's nobody that has the sweat on my balls. I lost, taking a shit this morning, more financial acumen, financial brains than the industry has currently on the planet. We don't have to make every single mistake. Now, I know this, talking to Jason last night at dinner, I know you're trying to. You're trying to make every mistake in the book, but you don't have to. You don't have to. Honest to goodness. What differentiates high-performance people? It's not a journey. It's a process. You find somebody that's out there. A lot of you have picked Jason, rightfully so, who is where you want to be in certain areas of your life. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Okay? And you model what he has done and what he's teaching you, coaching you, and mentoring you to do. I copied, mimicked, modeled Andrew Carnegie. I'm not the one that figured this all out. Andrew Carnegie, the little wee Scotsman who comes from right down the road from my castle, he came up with this methodology in the late 1800s. But it's not being taught anyplace. The investment banks don't want to use it because there's hardly any fees associated to it. And there's nobody teaching it but me. 20, 25 years ago, I told Sally, in 5 years, they'll be copying me. And then 5 years passed. And then 10 years passed. And then 15 years passed. And 25 years passed. And nobody's still teaching it. One of the reasons is because nobody's done the deals. The other is the people that know how to do it don't want you to know how to do it because then you compete with them. A lot of my mentees wouldn't talk to you. They wouldn't piss on your face if it was on fire because they're selfish. I'm on board, pull up the gangplank. Does everybody understand? I'm on board, you can fucking drown. A few of the mentees are willing to share, but you don't have to look for them to share. All you have to do is go on my website and it's free. Mentoring successful people never reach their goals alone. All top athletes, even singers and performers have coaches, mentors. Even Bill Gates has a mentor. You all know who it is, Warren Buffett. But, and this should make you feel better. I didn't put the slide in here to make you feel better. But the number one trait Warren Buffett, Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and Bill Gates all share, they're introverts just like you. 98% of the high-performance people on the planet are introverts. They're beta males, not alpha males. There's only 2% of us loudmouth, obnoxious. I'm at that end, in case you hadn't noticed. But 98% of all the high-performance people on the planet are just like you. Hopefully not just like you. I hope they get their willy wet at least. Mentoring has been around since Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. And I was just featured in a Greek newspaper a couple months ago, being compared to Socrates and Aristotle, which is, I think, a little rich. But because I was with the Onassis Group for many years, and one of my mentors was Konstantin Gratsos, who's the CEO of Onassis Group, who was the right-hand man of Aristotle and Onassis for 60 years. So this has been around a long, long time. Today I'm not going to teach you about, but lead you based on my 50 years of experience coaching and mentoring kids. These are the best practices. My site is updated weekly with the best practices. We change it all the time. You kids will find something out that works a little different. For example, right now the SBA, Small Business Administration, in the last year has changed their rules for how you borrow money. For those of you in the United States, it's a license to legally steal. SBA, Small Business Administration. The limit is currently $5 million to $7 million that the government guarantees a loan for you. It's a no fucking brainer. But hardly anybody uses it. Hardly anybody uses it. I had the privilege of coaching, mentoring, active duty, Army, Navy, Marines, Air Force, and many, many students. More recently, a few weeks ago, I was at the Naval Academy. A great privilege. The kids, the midshipmen that were there, and I asked the kids, because there's girls too, why are you called midshipmen? Nobody had an answer. Because obviously midshipman, midship gal, I don't know what you're supposed to be called, but anyway, it was a great honor for me to speak there. And now I also coach athletic teams. I didn't realize how big I was compared to some of the smaller rugby players. This is University of Kentucky national champs that I helped here late last year, and to get them pumped up to win the championship, which they did. I think they beat Alabama. I was privileged enough 7 or 8 weeks ago to be asked to do a transitioning talk to Navy SEALs, Special Ops, Green Beret, Army Rangers, fighter pilots. Why'd they ask me? SEAL Team 6. I wasn't a SEAL. I was an Army officer, infantry trained. Why didn't they ask one of the other dudes that you listen to on a motherfucking podcast? Huh? Why? Because they're cunts. And they wanted somebody to fucking leadership. They had a pair. I blew them out of the fucking auditorium. Me, not the other guys you listen to. Me, transitioning them from SEAL team to civilian life. Me, not the fucking rat shit bastards that you listen to. You ought to be fucking ashamed. They're giving money away free. We have the lowest interest rates in 5,000 years. The lowest interest rates in 5,000 years. You get this? The lowest interest rates in 5,000 years. What are you going to tell your children and grandchildren 25 years from now Gee, Daddy, gee, Grandpa, what the fuck were you doing when the world changed and they were giving fucking money away? Other than have your thumb up your fucking ass. I think you go like this. It's the lowest interest rates in 5,000 years. Money is free. But many of you have been taught that you shouldn't be like, the only thing you know how to snort is a line of Coke. You know why? Because you were told money is dirty. It's not important to us. Other value is more important. How many, you know I'm telling you the truth. You know who tells you that? Poor fuckers. Nobody that's got a fucking, any kind of net worth whatsoever tells you the money's dirty. Money's not the root of all evil. Poverty is the root of all evil. Do you surround yourself with those that are on the same mission as you? Probably not. For those of you that go to sports bars, Sally went to her first sports bar last year. We were someplace, I forget where it was. And you know, they got all the TV screens and all kind of sporting activities. And Sally says, why are they all watching all these screens? I said, honey, it's a sickness. I can't explain it to you. But if you're going to sports bars, drinking beer, belching and farting, you'll still be going to sports bars, belching and farting 25 years from now. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Remember, Bill Gates and all these people I just talked about, they don't hang. They don't fucking chill. You do not see Bill Gates at the Super Bowl. You will not see Elon Musk at the World Cup. Why? Show me your friends, and I see Jason has copied this, but anyway, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Now, is that what your friend? Now, this is what my friends look like when I had some. This is what they look like. And I was the weak link. They used to send me into biker bars. And I used to piss on a biker's boot and run back outside, and the 4 or 5 of the guys are out there in the parking lot. I'm the smallest of the group. And the bikers would come out. We made a mistake of doing that with a bunch of Marines. We got the shit kicked out of us at one time out in the valley. There used to be a bar on the corner of Reseda Boulevard and Ventura Boulevard where I got beat up, and then they ripped all my clothes off, and they hammered them in the wall behind the bar and left me in the street bleeding. And I dusted myself off the best I could. I went right down, and I just jumped on the biggest fucker and hit him with a pitcher of beer. My dad said, don't start fights, but make sure you end it. And when he's down, until his brains are coming out of the skull, you keep beating him. That's why we have boxing at the seminar now. Some of you guys that watch it think that they're all pansy ass. I'd like to see you in there with some of those guys that hit like fucking trains. See how you put up with those guys when we've had concussions, cracked ribs. We don't put that on YouTube. Okay? Association is power. Look around you. Or don't look around you. And pussiness rubs off. Being a snowflake rubs off. You hang out with monkeys, your life becomes a fucking circus. Success is like being pregnant. Everyone says congratulations, but nobody knows how many times you were fucked. So we're born limitless. We have limiting beliefs, mostly from our parents. We release those, not gaining emotional baggage. We want learned, can be unlearned. We stay aware of limiting beliefs of others. Get in touch with your emotions and get mentors. Because that's not what we want. Men back in the day, and what happened? Look at us now. Look at us. I fully expected to see one of you in here. One of these. Okay? And then they say, we're protesting because Donald Trump is not mentally stable. Give me a break. I can't get a job because Trump is a racist. Give me a break. And then, kids, as Pope John II said, totus tuus. It's all in your hands. Thank you. Question, please.
My name's Vin, 23 years old, from New York.
Okay. How can I help you?
My background, very easy. I am not back up against a wall. I don't have a lot of pressure. I am very comfortable. My parents did raise me where I'm very soft. So what's your best advice to someone, and a lot of guys are in that same situation here, how can I put myself against a wall? What do I just jump in and use all my credit?
For those, answering your question, but for all of you, if you're a comfortable life, one of the things is that we tell the kids to do is find something that scares you and do it every day. I'm going to give you 3 or 4 things that the kids do. Skydiving's a big deal, no big fucking deal, but they do that. Swimming with sharks without a cage is no big fucking deal. They do that. We've got guys that go wearing a nappy or diaper into Starbucks in Chicago. You could get arrested for that. If the people that your immediate surround you now are weak, soft, got to get rid of them. You got to get rid of them. Martial arts doesn't work unless you're in a full contact, really, where you're getting the shit kicked out of you. I like boxing better than any of the martial arts. I mean, when you're coming away with a concussion and a bloody face, that kind of martial arts. Not the bullshit like you see in the movies. But, I mean, find somebody that is a hard-ass bastard. And ask him or her, because there are hard-ass bitches as well, to be your mentor.
That's awesome.
Okay, very good. Next, sir.
Hello, Mr. Pena. It's my absolute honor to meet you. And
Okay.
I came here from Calgary, Canada. And my question to you is...
Okay, your name, age.
Oh, right. My name is Leo Wang, and I'm 37 years old.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm from Canada. And my question to you is, for me, I'm a bus driver. I used to be a bus driver. And then last year, September, I met Dan Locke, and then, which is one of your greatest mentees, like
Correct.
JC. And ever since then, I quit my job. And then I want to do the email copywriting with JC, and also I want to do the high ticket closing with Dan Locke. He's my seafood.
Okay.
So for someone like me who has no background as a marketer or no experience in business, coming from with a zero, starting from scratch, how can we be successful like a JC and a Dan Locke one day?
It all starts with the first step. That's a cheap cliche. Okay, but most of you, the people that you're surrounded with, are not role models. They're negative role models. And I mean, it's starting with your family. It's a shitty thing to say. And especially for Asian. I mean, it's hard to kick people to the curb. I mean, but who's more important? You, your future, or spending, I'll use a real outlandish, or spending Christmas with your family? You have to surround yourself with tougher people. Dan and Jason are good role models, good examples. But I would tell you got to focus on the few. High-performance people focus on the few. It won't be 2 things you can get away with. But some of you are involved in 5, 6, 7, 8 things. You've got to extract or subtract the 3 or 4 things, prioritize them 1 through 5 or 1 through 7, and just do the top 2 or 3.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. Yes, sir.
Mr. Pena, it's an honor to meet you. It's a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to speak, like hearing you speak today. My name is Arvind Rao. I come from Singapore. I'm 22 years old. I've got 2 questions. First one's real quick. What does your suit piece say? Like I can.
It says
tell
$50 billion man.
That's dope. That's dope. Second question. Okay, so for me, I feel like the foundation, like where you build your foundation, is like the most important thing to everything you do. I just wanted to ask, like, we come here, we can feel your experience, we can like clearly tell, like that's
I'm
the
listening.
base.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the base of like how you inspire all of us here. But aside from that, what do you feel like is like closest and most true to your heart that you are able to like show to us?
Well, the closest to my heart is my wife, wherever she's sitting. Sally, where are you? Oh, she's in the green room. Okay, it's fine. It's my wife. My wife and my 3 kids and my 2 grandkids. But I'm a shitty parent. My kids have to call to make an appointment to talk to me on the phone. And they have to give one of my 4 assistants an agenda. Time is money, kids. Time's fucking money. You can make money back, but you can never get time back. I'm going to say it again slow because I can see the shock in your eyes. My daughter, I have one daughter. She phones, emails one of my assistants, the one she's closest to, that thinks that she can slip her into my schedule. They were raised that way since they're this big. 2 of our children are highly successful professionals, way above the curve for their age. They're well-disciplined. They're focused. And look at you. When my father used to argue, if that was the wrong terminology, talk to his brothers and sisters about how hard he was on me. My aunt and my uncle used to say, Manny, that's my dad's name, you're awful tough on Danny, And Dad would look at his sister and say, well, how is your crack whore daughter doing with your program? And how is your heroin addict son doing with your fucking program? So don't tell me about my fucking program. My son lives in a motherfucking castle and has met, at that time, 3 presidents.
Straight up.
So, you are who you hang around with, kids. And these kind of these deals, other through Jason, these aren't networking deals where you circle jerk and I'm not against swapping bodily fluids, believe me, but that's not what this thing's about. It's not. The way most of you are dressed, I wouldn't let you in to one of my other talks. You got to look like a person. I wouldn't even let you in. Do you understand? And that's the real word. If you want to create generational wealth that normally takes 20 to 25 years and 3 to 7 years, you're not going to be looking like you fucking look. This generation and a half has learned to make money online like a retard, and you have no social skills. You have no interpersonal skills. You have no verbal skills. You're fucked. You've got to change the whole environment. And it's painful. I had a kid who was an ex-convict back in the 90s. In those days, they had block phones, the big like bricks. And he says, what's the easiest way for me to do away with all my associates? And some of his were criminal. And I said, just change the number on your phone and say, if you don't have my number, fuck you, you're out of my life. A year later, fast forward, I passed him in London. He was walking out of a restaurant. I was walking in. And I said, how'd it go? And he said, I've been meaning to call you. And he says, that worked like a charm. But my mother cried. Because he cut his mother out of his life. Because most moms, love doesn't get the job done once you're past 7. Most mothers are neurotic. And when it's the empty nest syndrome, when the kids leave the home, what do the mothers have to do? Just get more fucking neurotic. And you all know, maybe nobody in this room has lived through menopause with their wife. It's a motherfucker. They go fucking bonker, even crazier. That's what you got to cut that. It's like cancer. You got to cut all that shit out of your life. Is that it?
Yes, sir. May I please shake your hand?
Okay, you're welcome. Yes, sir.
Pleasure meeting you, Mr. Pena.
Thank you.
My name is Bertley Leonard, 38 years old from Chicago. Thanks for selfishly coming out here.
You're welcome.
So I've been in business for about 5 years. I have a construction company. I recently just signed $3 million worth of contracts.
Great.
I'm trying to figure out how to scale my business.
Well, how to scale is you need people, and we talk about this on the site, it's all free. You need people that have scaled businesses to 50 million, to 100 million, and you need to have them part of your team. We call it a dream team on the website. And you're not paying them a salary, you're paying them based on equity in the transaction. So they have skin in the game, they have a reason to make sure that the deal happens. But construction is a great business. Infrastructure, I mean, everything's a great business now. You know, whether you like him or don't like him, President Trump has changed the financial world forevermore. Jesus Christ, don't you get it? Unemployment at a low for blacks, browns, Chinese. Bank account at a high. Taxes at a low. He's done away with 3/4 of the bureaucratic shit paperwork. And if he does away with inheritance tax, death tax, I will kiss his fucking fat ass in front of the White House and give him a year to draw a crowd, because that personally means hundreds of millions of dollars to me.
He did a couple months ago.
No, not totally.
Okay.
Not totally. You're right. It's easy. Chicago's a great town for business. But as they say in Chicago, vote early and vote often.
Thank you.
Okay? Yes, sir.
I plan on attending
Okay.
the castle.
Very good. I look forward to it.
Hey, Mr. Pena, thank you for coming to speak to us today.
Okay?
My name is Joseph Gay. I'm from Virginia. I'm 25 years old. I'm working on starting a family office with my dad and my older brother. We want to do apartment syndication, so we take on investors and we purchase equity in apartment complexes.
I understand.
The way your model works, you use debt to finance your deals. Would you recommend that we do the same?
What I would recommend is you go find low-hanging fruit. You go find people that are already in the business, started the business 30, 35 years ago. Now they're 55, 60, 65 years old. They have no succession plan. Their kids don't want to have anything to do with the business. All they're going to do is die with the business and pay inheritance tax. You're going to be their savior. You're going to go buy their business, make them part of the solution instead of part of the problem, because you take equity investors, you have to worry about securities laws. And I don't know what the securities laws are in that particular state, but for example, in this state, you need to be a accredited investor, have a net worth of liquid of at least $1 million. You can only take 35 investors or less. And you need to put together a PPM, a private placement memorandum, which nobody wants to spend the money on, which is either 5, 10, 20, 25 grand, depending on who does it. The more you pay for it, the better chance it is to hold up in court. But other people's money I like. But I mean, you can get started with debt financing, taking out already existing players that went out, and they've got no way out other than now.
Awesome. Thank you,
Okay,
sir.
very good. Yes, sir.
How's it going, Pena?
Thank you.
My name is Orlando. I'm 21 from New Mexico. And
New Mexico or Mexico?
New Mexico. Everyone thinks Mexico like on the
No,
East Coast.
where in New Mexico?
Yeah, Las Cruces.
My dad was born in Deming.
Oh, just like right there.
Yeah.
Like all the green chili and everything.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I just want to start off by saying throughout this whole seminar, I've had like a lot of breakthroughs, but yours have given me like a very big epiphany.
Okay.
And I've kind of went through what you went through as a child, you know, ridicule and abuse and everything. And because of that, I never wanted to fucking settle. And to this day, I'm like not settling. I'm pushing, I'm grinding, but I don't really see any results. And I just want to know from all you QLAs, from the top performers that you have had, what are sort of like the similar things that you have seen that they have done that's really given that big
The biggest call it breakthrough. The biggest breakthroughs the kids have is when they realize that when you become fearless, your world opens up. And when you stop worrying about what other people think of you, say about you, like I was with some people, I was on that black TV show I was on yesterday. We were talking about how kids get slammed on Facebook and they commit suicide. That's so beyond my comprehension. How somebody would fucking kill themselves just because some asshole said something not nice about you on fucking Facebook. I don't get that. I mean, that's outside my world. But what it is when you don't care, it's not that you go out of way to be a shithead, okay? But when you stop worrying about how they feel and you start worrying about how you feel, because you're the most important thing in your life, not somebody else, your whole life changes. The whole dynamics change. When your goal, remember that thing of the goal and the family and the pessimist and all those things you got to go through? When that goal is for you, as long as it's legal, moral, and ethical, When that goes, the most important thing in your life, shit happens. You move mountains. I'll give an example for parents, those of you that have kids. If somebody put a gun to your kid's head and said, you got to come up with $25,000 in the next month or next week, or I'm going to blow your kid's brains out. You'd get 25 grand. Somehow you'd find it. Right? Yes. Absolutely. Okay? Well, I mean, I've lived that way for 50 years. 50 years. I interviewed Tom Cruise's assistant a few years ago. I was going to open an office here in Los Angeles. I didn't, as it turned out. And I sat down with the kid, and he said, how is it to work for Tom Cruise? And he says, every morning he gets up like he never made a movie. He never made a penny. He never had a successful film. Every single morning he gets up with hunger in his eyes, and in his heart, in his stomach. He works like a dog, 80, 90, 100, 120 hours a week. Fuck, that's no different. But see, to him it's not work, just like what I'm doing is not work. You've got to surround yourself with people that have the like mind that you want to be, like those lions that were hunting. Are you all on the same mission? If you're not all on the same mission, then you got the wrong people around you. Okay? Good luck to you. Thank you. Young man.
Hey, Dan, thank you so much for everything.
Thank you. You're welcome.
My name is Carlos Martinez. I'm a first
¡Ándale pues, muchachos!
Mira, okay, pues, okay,
¡Cabrón!
I love it. So I'm a first-generation Mexican like yourself. I have immigrant parents. They divorced, and I'll be honest, my dad raised me like a pussy. Thank God I had a stepdad that raised me he had a militant background, and an uncle that like really kicked that shit out of me. But I feel like there's still these thoughts that are like too sensitive.
They're always going to be there. And part of the reason is because the generation today, it permeates the air. Okay? It's not Chinese water tortures. They drop 1 million drops of water on you. It's not the 20,000th drop that makes you crazy. It's the 500,000th drop that makes you crazy. Okay? When you're around nothing but snowflakes, and you're around people that really, like they have a new Monopoly game now. The new Monopoly for millennials that came out last year has no real estate in it because you can't afford it. And it's got all this shit. I couldn't believe it. Okay? How can a 30-year-old guy live at home with his wife? Do you take turns fucking? Your parents fuck one night and you fuck the next night? I mean, you can't help when you're inundated with this material. It's like the ozone disposed of all this bullshit. I mean, it gets to you. Everything you watch on television, the news does have a liberal bias. You know, I'm not saying that Fox is the answer. If you want to really hear unbiased news, listen to Al Jazeera, the Arabic station. They tell more truth than CNN, CNBC, and Fox put together. They do. Okay, praise Allah. I mean, you've got to go out of your way, and it's not easy, kids. Every day, default's a bitch. You're going to go back to your homes. Default, mom, dad, wife, girlfriend, brother, sister. They're not on the same treadmill as you are. And you've got to immerse yourself. I mean, listen to all adjacent shit. Go to my site, and it's all free. Download, I think it's 20 gigs or some shit on my site. Mm-hmm. Download it all. And listen to it. And just listen to it when you get up in the morning, when you go to the gym, on the way to work. But default's a bitch. So you can't stop working on it.
All right.
Okay?
Spoke to me.
Very
Gracias,
good.
hermano.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good.
Hello, Laird Dan. From where did you appropriate the QLA system from Andrew Carnegie?
No, not the QLA system. The buying without using equity and only using debt. That's the Andrew Carnegie.
Where did you learn about it from?
I studied his acquisitions. He didn't like equity because equity from other investors would reduce his ownership. That's why he liked debt. When you take debt in to buy companies, your ownership isn't reduced. And it was a selfish thing. He didn't want to give up equity in his businesses.
You mentioned in your Boston University lecture that even a retard with 300 cold calls a day can make $1 million no problem.
Correct.
And you also, on your site, emphasize that all selling comes down to cold calling.
Correct.
Is internet outreach and marketing a waste of time to your standards?
No, it's not a waste of time. it's internet marketing and well, SEO, I believe, is a waste of time. Okay, search engine optimization, I think, is jerking off. But okay, Google ads work. But we used to be one of the largest advertisers on Google, 100 million a year. And Google has now, instead of winning $100 million a year advertisers, they would rather have $101 million a year advertisers. And they change the algorithms for the masses. Okay? You cannot, it's very difficult to make, it's impossible to make billions online. It just is. Okay? You can make tens of millions. I have mentees making 5, 6, 7, 8 million a month today as we stand here, online, with various models. Most of them are subscription models, okay? They borderline, on my judgment, they borderline on MLM, multi-level marketing, which I'm not a proponent of. But right now you can buy bricks and mortar for no money. You can buy revenue. It's almost impossible to buy an online business because it's very difficult to substantiate the revenue stream. And all of a sudden you buy it for $10,000 or $100,000 or $500,000 and the fucking revenue disappears in the 4th week because you can't track it. It's not impossible to track. If you're NASA, maybe you can track it. So what I'm saying is the kids I showed, I could show you 25 kids that made between $5 and $25 million last year online. But those businesses can't be sold. I'm here to create generational wealth where you build something and exit, not build a lifestyle business. Online businesses at most are lifestyle businesses. Getting back to your 300 cold calls, I don't care if you're selling toilet paper or bricks. You make 300 cold calls a day, and a cold call is not leaving a message. A cold call is not talking to the secretary and leaving a message. A cold call is talking to the owner, the principal, the decision maker. 300 cold calls and you will lead the nation. I don't give a fuck what you sell. But nobody wants a cold call. Do you want a cold call? I can tell it on your face. Of course not.
As a retard like me can't do anything better than model what works.
Okay, well then do cold call. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Penna. It's a lifelong dream to meet you. My name is John. I'm from Vancouver. I'm one of Danlock's students. I have a really off-base question. I am a dating coach in Vancouver.
Dating?
Dating coach. I have the most testimony.
Is that to get your willy wet?
That's correct. Cold approach. Okay, I know. I'm sorry for that. But I have the most student testimonials in the world. I want to talk about competition and how to take them out, like Genghis Khan them. I have a company that's very unethical. Okay, they're the most famous. They're like the McDonald's. They have funnels. They're good at advice videos, and they're not helping minorities. I feel like it's my mission because 1 in 5 Asians will never procreate in the future. They're just gone. And
so what's the question?
The question is, how do I take out that competition while everyone
these
else...
are the unethical ones.
The unethical ones. They have big team. 15
okay,
people.
well, I mean, unless they're breaking a law, and unless they're in a country that has a rule of law, and a lot of these guys and gals are not in countries that have rules of law because they're in 3rd and 4th world countries, it's with great difficulty. I mean, other than, and I'm not suggesting this, other than metaphorically speaking, they go break their fucking knees, I mean, but that's,
Should I just focus on my base instead?
No, you focus on what works. Most of you are, if you're working on, by the way, the big time marketing guys, the Revlon, the Rolls Royces, guys that are online, they spend between $500 and $1,000 testing an idea. $500 and $1,000. They write a title for a book that doesn't exist, or they write a title for a car that doesn't exist, or they write a title for a watch that doesn't exist. They spend between $500 and $1,000. If that title doesn't get impressions, drive traffic, get conversions, next. Some of you in this room have spent hours, days, weeks, months, and even years on your model, and they don't work. And you continue to finger fuck with them. The professional marketing people, like me, spend between $500 and $1,000 per idea. And if the cocksucker doesn't work in 90 to 180 seconds, next. The beauty about the internet is the information is fucking instantaneous. Don't you get it? Why do you finger fuck with the same model that doesn't work? Just because you like it doesn't mean somebody else is going to like it. Just because your mother likes it doesn't mean somebody else is going to like it. Just because your husband or significant other likes it doesn't mean anybody's going to like it. And nobody will tell you the truth. I look at these deals. Next. I mean, as God is my witness. Next. Oh, we'll put that on. We'll look at that more. Next. That's how I screen deals. Online deals. It takes me about 1/1,000,000th of a second. So I don't even spend the $500 to $1,000. Because you're engaging in self-sabotaging activities. You want to finger fuck with it for weeks, months, and years because that keeps you from having to come up with another idea.
Thank you, Mr. Pena. I'll metaphorically break
yes,
your
sir.
knees.
It's an honor to meet you, Mr. Pena. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Nicholas Henyu. I'm 21. I'm from Connecticut, and I'm getting ready to open up my first business, physical business. And one thing that I always see lacking is, for someone who wants to also do something just like you, people that I talk to, and I try to get them on what I'm doing and how to do it right. It just goes over their head. They don't listen.
Okay, most of you guys should join Toastmasters because most of you are shitty public speakers. Okay, you can't convey a message. Okay, if you're stepping on your dick while you're talking, you only have 2 times to make a first impression. The first time is how you look, and you all basically look like pig fuckers. Okay, so that's the first impression. The second impression is when you open your big fucking mouth. Most of you can't speak English, or whatever language it is. Okay. Go to Toastmasters, go to improv, and because if it goes over their head, it's because you didn't explain it right. Most people are meatheads, okay? There are bigger meatheads even than you. So if they don't get it, you're either talking to the wrong person or persons, or you're not saying it effectively. It's one of the two, or a combination of both. Now, people will ask, why do I use such graphic language and graphic examples? Because it works! Nobody ever misunderstands what the fuck I'm saying. Never. Never. When in 1991, I got the Distinguished Alumni Award, the smartest, the greatest alumni in the history of the university. And their CBS, Connie Chung is interviewing Dr. Shirley Teeter, who's the dean of the School of Business. This is the school, I flunked out of university 3 times when I came back after the military. And they said, Dr. Teeter, you've known Danny Pena a long time. What have you seen changes in him in 25 years? She looked straight into the camera. Now, this is a woman, a very PhD, I believe, from Stanford. She said, the only thing that's changed with Danny Pena is his accomplishments have caught up with his big fucking mouth. I never heard her say a swear word ever. Ever. But when Muhammad Ali was saying, I'm the greatest, remember? Yeah. There are people that say, I'm the greatest, and they are the greatest. So I've been talking shit since I'm a kid. And so my accomplishments have caught up with my big fucking mouth. So, you got to be a better communicator, and you've got to get the message across better. And just because your girlfriend or your mother understands what you're saying doesn't mean the masses. And that's why I tell everybody to join Toastmasters. Okay, next.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Yes, thank you.
My name is Liam. I'm 20 years old, and I must come to your seminar, boot camp, in Scotland.
It's not a boot camp, but okay, go ahead.
I heard you call it a boot camp one time.
Yeah, well,
so I referred to it as that.
No. I said you guys wouldn't know a boot camp if it bit you in the dick. Is what I said. Boot camps are where they beat you. Dan Loke reminded me 2 days ago when I was in Vancouver with him, I was still choking and beating people when he came. He says, Dan's not lying. I used to ride around with a riding crop. And if you look like you were going to sleep, boom, I'd hit you in the face with it. We had a lady psychiatrist pass out and crack her head on the wall. I just kept rolling. We had people shit their pants in the seminar. I just kept rolling. I've had people piss their pants in the seminar. I just kept rolling. When I was at the Naval Academy just a few weeks ago, we had a guy go into seizures and convulsions. I just kept fucking rolling. Because that's life, guys and gals. Nobody gives a fuck about your sorry vagina. Nobody. And if you're hanging, chilling with people that give a fuck, you're hanging and chilling with the wrong motherfuckers. Bill Gates doesn't give a fuck if you live or die. Don't you fucking get it?
Yes.
Dalai Lama. How many of you went to the Dalai Lama's 80th birthday party? I didn't think so. Okay. I wasn't invited either, but my mentees were. In his closing speech, when he's looking for money, he's got his hands out like this. He says, meditation is wonderful. Spirituality is wonderful. Prayer is wonderful. And he went through 7 or 8 things. But taking action is the best of all. That's from the motherfucking Dalai. Pull that fucking trigger. Run towards the gunfire and kill every motherfucker out there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Dan Pena, so we meet again.
Pardon?
My name is Sheldon Hilton from
Okay.
Florida. We actually met, our last encounter was actually in Gainesville at the event.
University of Florida.
Yes, of course. And I was actually at a situation very similar to this where I was actually 2 people behind. And the event was shut down when I had this question to ask you then. So now is the opportunity, so I'm taking full advantage.
Okay.
So I've been studying your materials for about 2 years now.
Okay.
I've also read your book, Your First 100 Mil, which has given me opportunities in life as well. So as a result of that, I've been able to connect with a business partner and also have build up a dream team. And as a result of that, we were able to buy a company that was on decline for 11 mil and take that company to 33 mil.
Great.
And my question to you is, what does your day look like? Because I know that high performance, a lot of it has to do with your daily routine, your habits, and what is going on inside of the mind of the high performer.
Now, this is a guy that used the model, listened to me about an hour and a half, right?
Correct.
And got a company for 11 million and took it to 30 something, right?
Correct.
I don't remember him from that. I remember Gainesville, but what happened and but the shit works. Okay, my daily schedule isn't going to be what yours is, but listen. Motivation gets you started. Good habits keep you going. I have extraordinary habits. I have the same habits I had 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. The last thing I do at night is I say my affirmations and my prayers. I fall asleep saying my prayers. Since I'm 6, 7 years old, I still say my prayers. Affirmations are the bedrock. All the guys use them. Super Olympic athletes have been using affirmations. Jim Elway back in the day, I see myself winning the Super Bowl in overtime. What he didn't see in his dreams was he was going to take him 3 Super Bowls to win the 3 Super Bowls to finally win one. But affirmations. So that's how I end my day. I begin my day in the morning when I get up. I go to my office, and my office is in the castle. We have a wing that's the business wing, and I check emails. I take some of my pills. I take a lot of pills, and I have a cup of coffee, and I prioritize which ones I'm going to answer first. Some of which I'm just going to delete. This is after they've already been screened by one of my 4 assistants. Only thing I do is wipe my ass. And when I'm in Asia, I don't even wipe my own ass. I delegate everything. I don't do anything. My wife dresses me. God's truth. You spend time on shit that's not important. So then when I filter through what's important for the day, and then I normally have my first meal is between 12 and 1 o'clock. I eat something. And then I'm normally on Zoom calls, Skype calls, conference calls. I'm reviewing papers. I'm looking at the mentees' business weekly reports that you send me. and then I go to the gym late afternoon the first time. Then I have an evening meal, and then I go to a gym the second time, because the gym is only about from here to the wall. That's the close gym. I have 2 gyms. We have another gym that's about another 20 meters beyond that wall. And then Sally and I normally watch 1 hour TV between 11 and 12. May have a glass of wine. And then I go to bed about 12:30, and it starts all over again. Okay?
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Congratulations on that deal. Awesome. Very good, very good.
Hi, Dan. My name's James Nato, and I'm a college student. I'm from Washington, D.C.
Okay.
I'm originally I was studying to become an investment banker. I'm studying finance, and I played baseball all my life. I injured my arm, and now I can't play anymore, obviously. But so now I'm into the entrepreneurial journey now, like 2 months in, and I want to start a sports agency, like negotiate professional contract deals for baseball players. And right now I'm using Jason's email marketing program to help a sports business, like a training gym, for their recruiting services, getting their athletes college scholarships and getting them seen by like college programs and stuff. And I'm wondering if I have to wait to build credibility in order to get a hold of the big-time pro athletes, like the Bryce Harpers, I don't know if you really know baseball that much.
I do. I know who Ted Williams is. That's all I know.
Okay. But I know that you've worked with a lot of your
Athletes.
mentees. Yeah, athletes and mentees that work in different
You got
industries.
a joint venture with somebody that's already got credibility.
Okay.
Find a retiring agent, representative. We've had kids work for you for a year for free, learn the business, and buy his business out, but at least you've got his 20, 30, 40, 50 years, and over time, perhaps you can have his clients turned over to you. But it's a tough business. There's a low barrier to entry, but it's very lucrative, as you well know. Agents and people that represent those pro athletes get paid a lot of money.
I know the top guy, too. His name's Scott Boris, and he actually lives in Newport Beach. So
Okay.
I'll get a hold of him.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Hi, Sir Dampenia. Thank you for being here. My name is Jack Penda. I'm from Montreal. I actually drove up drove up here to see you in the first place.
Drove down here.
Yeah, I drove down here from Montreal because I listened to you. I wanted to get out of my comfort zone, and I wanted to test my abilities. And I don't believe my dad raised me as a pussy because, well, at least not until we moved to Canada here. I'm originally from Russia. Because at 8 or 9 years old, like that picture you showed of one of your mentees with his back all, that was me at 8 or 9 years old because of something I did. So my question
Let me stop. If your parents, maybe not as severe as that kid, one of his buddies whipped him. They go monthly to get whipped. If your parents had done a little more of that, you wouldn't be in the situation you are today. You wouldn't be in the situation you are today, but go ahead.
No, the thing is, my environment changed 8 years ago, and I did become a pussy. But at least it got me to actually encounter you online. And so the thing is, about a month ago, I want to thank you for that. About a month ago, I discovered you. You changed my life, my way of thinking.
Good.
And all that. And I listened to you, and I listened to one advice in particular, and is to dream big. So my dream...
It doesn't cost anything to dream big. I guarantee you will never exceed your highest expectation. I guarantee if you want to be a millionaire, you're never going to make $2 million. I guarantee if you want to make $10 million, you're never going to make $10 million and $10. I fucking guarantee that. Because your subconscious doesn't know you're full of shit. It will shut down. It will start shutting down at 600,000, 700,000, 800,000, 990,000, and then you're going to go to fucking sleep. You know, you shoot for Mars, and maybe you'll only hit the fucking moon. Go ahead.
So yeah, so my dream is I want to become a man who builds the first flying car. And I don't know anything about the industry. I don't know, I'm not an engineer yet, at least. And I want to know, where do I start?
Okay, 2 points I want to make. The first car in the world was an electric car, in 1838, I think, 1839. First car ever. That's before combustion engine. An electric fucking car was the first car. Do you think the planet could have better electric cars if they really wanted them? Fucking right. Elon Musk, Allah be with him, stuck his foot up the ass of the automotive industry, and that's why everybody's on the electric cars. Okay? But we've known how to land rocket ships back on the Earth for 40 fucking years. But we only just started doing it the last 4 or 5 years because Elon Musk stuck his foot up the ass again. And the reason why we didn't want to land rockets, because then Boeing and all these big companies aren't going to be selling twice as many rockets. It's simple. But I also want to say, I have a lot of respect for Elon Musk. I was on Joe Rogan's show and I didn't smoke any fucking weed. Okay? But Elon would be a footnote in history if President Obama hadn't given him $1.5 billion fucking dollars. He wouldn't be a motherfucking footnote. He talks about the money he paid back. Of the one of the 7 deals, the other 6 are all in bankruptcy. President Obama, in his infinite wisdom, made Elon Musk because it was politically right for Obama. So never forget that. Getting back to you, Elon's a gifted engineer, but he's not Einstein. And you don't have to know about cars. Henry Ford didn't know shit about cars. Okay, now I wasn't around when Henry Ford was, although I have met Clayton Ford, the current chairman and CEO. Go where your passion is. Go where your passion is.
But I want to know, who would I seek as a mentor, and how?
Well, I mean, there's 100 people that are in the car business. Flying cars are a long way off. But I asked my chauffeur yesterday, when do you think they're going to have chauffeurless, is that right? Chauffeurless limos. And he says, boss, I hope no time soon. But, I mean, the great thing about Google, LinkedIn, I think, is one of the great marketing tools ever. Go to LinkedIn and say, in the subject matter, flying cars. Flying car mentor wanted. Words like that. And I bet you'll get 100 or 200 responses.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
And I also will be participating in one of your QLA seminars.
Okay,
for sure.
great. Guys, I didn't come for Jason to sell you. The seminars are booked till September. I mean, I could give a seminar every week and they'd be booked. But anyway, the stuff's free on my website. Free. Thank you very much.
One more time, let's make some noise for Dan Pena.